People of Earth, it is I, the Great Goonan, and this is the Great Goonan Podcast, and I'm here today with Tinabeth Pina. And Tinabeth, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
All right. Now, Pina means pineapple in Spanish, doesn't it?
It does. Mm-hmm.
So I guess the question that everybody wants to know then is, have you brought some pineapple? Have you brought enough for everybody? Are you going to pass out some pineapple? Are we getting pineapple slices? Do you have pineapple on you? Prove it.
Pineapples all day, every day. Trying to see if I have one handy. There's pineapples all over this place, actually. There's pineapple knobs on that thing there. There's pineapples everywhere. There's actually pineapple cushions right there. Actually, I just bought these for for the chairs outside.
Well, then
so there are pineapples here.
You did exactly what I wanted. I wanted pineapples for everybody, so that's good. You know, my last name is Goonan, and in Irish that means you owe me money, you dirty bastard. So I don't have any money for you, but that's my own way of being. So another thing that you have that I wanted to talk about is you actually have, and I don't know if you have it there, an Emmy, don't you?
I do. I have it downstairs. I could bring it up, but it's downstairs, but I do have it here.
Now, you have an Emmy, but do you have an Emmy the same way? Like, I was going to get an Emmy because I saw on eBay they were giving away one of the Emmys that Frasier won, and I was going to bid for it so I could get one of the Frasier Best Directing Emmys and put it up here on the mantle here and impress people all the time. Is that how you got it? Did you bid for your Emmy on eBay? And how much did you bid?
Thankfully, no, I didn't have to. But sometimes, yeah, you have to when you submit an Emmy entry, you are paying for your submission. So in essence, you are paying for it. Didn't know that.
What did you win your Emmy?
It was an Emmy for a show that I used to work on called Viva. It was like a Hispanic Entertainment Tonight. And I was a writer-producer on that show many, many years ago.
It was Entertainment O Tonito, as they say in Spanish.
Sí, como no.
Do you speak Spanish?
Sí, claro que sí.
I speak Spanish. I took many lessons in Spanish in school because in Brooklyn they always had to make you learn Spanish, and they only taught us the most important things you have to say in Spanish. So I learned how to say, my father works with me in the library. Mi papá trabaja conmigo en la biblioteca. Es muy bueno. Spanish.
Bueno.
I can say also very important, the capital of Mexico is Mexico City. And la capital de México es la Ciudad de México. Es muy bueno.
Muy bien.
Yeah. And if,
your accent's really good.
Yeah, and also the most important thing, like if I'm ever in Spain or Mexico or any place like that and I get lost, I could walk up to a constable and I could tell him my favorite sport is ping pong. I could tell him, mi deporte favorito es el ping pong. Es muy bueno. I'm practically a diplomato.
You are. You're Cervantes himself.
Now, you always have been involved in sort of the television journalism type of thing since like very early on. You basically jumped out from school into working in that type of field, right? And
yep.
And you've been doing that this whole time. Was that always something you wanted to get into, or was that something you just happened to get into?
No, I always wanted to get into it. I was a kid who watched commercials while she was doing her homework. My parents didn't mind because I got my whole, but I was always watching TV. I was enamored by it, and I just always wanted to work in it. And my parents obviously wanted a more traditional career, be a doctor, be a lawyer. I actually really did like medicine. I considered being a doctor. I kind of sometimes regret that I wasn't a doctor because I could have been like a medical reporter, but you don't think about those things like when you're younger. So yeah, it was just something I always wanted to do. And once I graduated from college, I came straight to New York and started working in New York and been here ever since.
But I mean, specifically, you wanted to work in like news?
No, I specifically wanted to do entertainment, television, reporting. I really wanted to be an actor. That was like, I did a lot of theater and stuff when I was younger. And then I discovered Oprah. I saw that she was acting and reporting. So I was like, ooh, if I go the journalism route, I could somehow, some way finagle the acting route. which sometimes has happened. It hasn't happened a lot, but it has happened from time to time. So like, that's kind of how that trajectory happened. And then like with many careers, you have your ups and downs. I got laid off a ton of times, and that's how I met you. Cause I was like, you know what? Now's the time for me to do acting. So I was like, let me do some stand-in work, some background acting work. And that's how I'm going to learn. I didn't go to school for it. I'm like, I'm going to learn like on the set. And then, yeah, then that's, yeah. I don't remember what film specifically I met you on, but I know I met you on one of them.
I like how you point out meeting me when you were laid off and down and out. like that's when I was in my worst situation, when I was in the worst situation, when I was in the doldrums and there were no hope, that's when you happened by.
No, when I was in my worst situation, that's when I met like the best people.
We did, I know we did that show. I don't even know if it ever aired. It was a TV show called 0 Hour with Anthony Edwards. And we shot it in Greenpoint, but it was supposed to be India. And we were all dressed up like Indians, like from Pakistani Indians, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Which of course we're totally Pakistan. You're, what are you, Puerto Rican?
I'm half Puerto Rican, half Dominican, but yo, I'll be Indian if you need me to. I'll be whatever anybody needs me to be.
Hey, I'm Irish. I'm Irish and Italian, so obviously I'm an Indian. You know, it was great when we did that shoot too, because like everybody said, "You're perfect, except real Indians who were on set. They were like, "You don't look anything like it," but everybody else said, "You're perfect, you're perfect." It was great.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. Like there's not like there aren't, you know, South Asian actors out there who would have loved to have been given the opportunity. Why that didn't happen is beyond me.
Yeah. Well, but so then you were really looking forward to being like Mary Hart from like Entertainment Tonight. Like,
oh my gosh, yeah. I loved Mary Hart. It's interesting because when I found out the trajectory that they went through, like they were all beauty pageant people, and I was like, shoot, I didn't go that route. I didn't know like that's what you do. Like what was her name, Vanessa Lachey, Nick Lachey's wife. She was on Entertainment Tonight. She was a pageant person. There's a couple of pageant people on there, but yeah, no, I didn't go that route. And at the time too, I wasn't the type that they wanted for Entertainment Tonight for a very long time. Now Entertainment Tonight's gotten colorized, but at the time it wasn't. It was very, I don't know, white, I guess, for lack of a better word. So it was John Tesh, Mary Hart, those people. Correct.
John Tesh is probably the whitest man that ever lived. John Tesh makes Pat Boone look like Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, you know? But you know what? It came full circle. I actually got to meet John Tesh, and he was really, really nice. And him and Connie Selica.
Where did you meet them?
I went to a PBS conference in Arizona like 2 years ago, trying to push my own show, and he had something going on PBS, so he was there like a guest star signing autographs, and of course I took a picture with him. And I know
he's a musician too. He does that too on the side, and he has. You know who he looks like? He looks like He-Man, like when He-Man went wearing regular clothes. What'd you say?
He-Man got deflated.
Yeah, well, a little bit, yeah. But so like right out of the bat, you're going into like some form of news journalism on television. Definitely a visual way of doing it, not journalism, newspapers and stuff like that. And I love the little story. It's more than just a little story, but I love the story about how early on you decided out of just gumption to crash the MTV Awards. I love that story. I like it. Can you tell us that? I like that story.
Sure. Yeah. I was all about wanting to be in TV, meeting celebrities. I grew up in a town where there wasn't any. So if I was in New York working in television, even though at the time I was an assistant to an executive producer, which is basically a glorified secretary, I was going to do what I could to meet people. And the first event that I crashed, it was either the MTV Music Awards or it was the Grammys, because at the time it was easy to crash those things. This was pre 9/11. So make up an ID, you have a camera person, and you go. So at the time I was a secretary. This guy who is now an Emmy Award winning cameraman for NBC, he wanted to be a camera person, a videographer. So I was like, hey, Dave, you want to take the camera? I'll be reporter. And we go and we get on the red carpet. And he's like, yeah. And so we went right across the street. I was working on 50th and 6th at the time. And the awards were at the Radio City Music Hall. We went into the red carpet. We showed our Time Warner IDs. That got us in. I don't know how. I don't know why. And yeah, we were on the red carpet interviewing like Snoop Dogg, Queen Latifah, Bill Maher. He was on the red carpet. It was weird. It was crazy, but it was so exciting. And I was just like, wow, we like crashed the red carpet. And we did it a couple times. I did get in trouble at work for doing that because after the first crash, I was told not to do that again. But of course I did do it again because
yeah, well, you know, coming from where my background and doing comedy and stuff like that, I always feel that whenever somebody in charge tells me I'm absolutely not allowed to do something, I pretty much have to do it.
Yep.
You know, it's like, oh, I'm not allowed. Oh, then I must. You know, so before you get into all of that, what did you talk about with Snoop Dogg and Bill Maher and Queen Latifah and all those people?
I'm trying to remember. I have the video of it too. It's old. Snoop didn't say much, if I remember correctly. I think he was high, and I didn't know that he was high, so I just thought he was like a jerk. And then I realized years later, that I was just like, oh, he was probably high. I didn't know because he was like, yeah, yeah, like that's all I got. Then Queen Latifah was very, very friendly, very, very nice. Bill Maher was like joking the entire time. Because I think he kept asking me, like, where are you guys from again? Like, what is this for? Because we looked young. We looked like we didn't belong. So I think he was almost calling us out on it, but we were having so much fun with him that he just kept going along with it. And I remember he talked to me for a while. He like gave me like a good like 5 or 6 minutes and not like 10 seconds that everybody else would give you.
Who did you say you were from when you were interviewing these people? Where did you say you were representing?
New York one. New York one. Because well, we kind of were illegally because we worked for Time Warner, which at the time owned New York One. And the stuff that we got did end up airing on New York One because I was known as the Phantom intern at New York One at the time. I wasn't an official intern, but I really wanted to learn about television. So I used to go to the studio and ask if I could go on shoots with different reporters and learn stuff. And they'd be like, sure, because they always needed a helping hand, but they didn't know who I was. And they dubbed me the Phantom intern. And because I would appear.
Phantom intern. Dun, dun, dun.
Yep.
And so then you go and you do that. You crash the awards and you do that. What happens with the footage?
I mean, I still have it. We gave sound bites to New York One. They ran it, and that was it. And then I kept the footage for myself for posterity. And I did like a fake stand up, you know, so I could put a reel together because that was the other thing. After doing like a fake red carpet, you have to do like a fake stand-up to put a fake reel together to send to a real agent so they can get you a job. And that all ended up happening because I was able to put together a fake tape, real tape, but fake tape because I needed an agent. And at the time, I ended up getting an agent who was starting out. So I don't know if he didn't know that my reel wasn't real, but it didn't matter because I ended up getting an agent. Out of all that fakery, I got an agent.
And when you mean stand-up, you don't mean stand-up comedy. You mean like, hi, this is Tinabeth reporting at, like the opening shot, so to speak. Right.
Yeah, so like video of yourself on camera, like how you'd come across. So whenever I had an opportunity to like record myself on camera doing post opens or stand-ups and stuff like that, I would do it as often as I could. And that's how I crafted a reel, although I didn't have a real job on television. I was always behind the scene, like secretarial stuff.
You're the Phantom. You're the Phantom intern.
Yep.
You know? So then you get in trouble for that, don't you? For doing that? Don't they and what do they say to you? What do they say?
I got in trouble because my one boss, I had 3 bosses. My main boss was Joe, and there was another boss, George, and then another boss, Bruce. And George specifically told me for the MTV Awards not to go. I wasn't allowed to go. And again, like you said, that's like, yeah, you're going. So when I went and I came back and I got all the footage and stuff, he found out about it, and he said to me, he's like, I thought I told you you couldn't go. And I was like, yeah, you did, but it's right across the street. How could I not go? I'm like, what are you gonna do? You're not gonna fire me, right? I was like, and the funny thing was, my main boss, Joe, he was like chuckling in the background, but couldn't. And you could see that George was angry, but since I was being honest about it, I was like, I cannot not, you can't make me not go. It's like it's almost like he was like a father that wanted to like punish you, but couldn't, and was trying to like stifle the humor in it, but he didn't want to, because I had to learn a lesson. And I think I got in trouble, like I wasn't allowed to go on any more shoots past that, but it didn't matter to me because I went to the MTV Music Awards. When you're 21, 22 years old and it's MTV Music Awards, yeah, I went. I don't care if I can't go on any other shoot. Didn't matter.
And were they also, they liked the footage you had, though? They used it, didn't they?
They used it. So that was that. And I think I said that too. I was like, but you guys used the footage. I'm like, New York One used the footage. You know, it's like, so yeah, I got reprimanded, but nothing came of it. And actually, what's very telling is George was my contact for my next job after that one. So he wasn't that mad at me if he, was able to network for my next job outside of the job that I had. So it was all good at the end of the day.
So basically, you advocate being sneaky and being underhanded and figuring out various slithering ways to do things and becoming the Phantom.
I think you got to do what you got to do to get to where you want to go. As long as all things are legally done and you have a dream or a passion, you do what you got to do to get there, as long as it's all legal. I broke no laws.
When you did it the second time, who did you talk to the second time?
I have to try to remember. I remember I saw the Rolling Stones performing. I remember I talked to what was his name? The Slash from Guns N' Roses, Brendan Fraser, because he was like a big deal at that time. Right. And I remember there was a Slash lookalike. There was something going on. There wasn't like a real Slash. There was a Slash lookalike. And I remember, I'm like, that's not the real Slash. That's the real Slash. And I remember Brendan Fraser saying, you mean I wasn't talking to the real Slash? And I'm like, no, that's the real one. That's the fake one. And I remember we had a conversation about that. I'm trying to think, who else?
And you knew, because you were a Phantom yourself. So you knew
that
someone was faking who they were.
Adam Sandler was another one. He was there too. He was nice. Yeah, it was nice. People were really nice to me. And when you were actually off of the red carpet, because I remember they had an after party at Bryant Park, and I was able to get into the after party, I think only because I found out about it on the red carpet. So whoever was handling it remembered me and let me in. So it was just nice, like overall. And then you get to eat. It was like free food, good food. So it was like all that stuff wrapped into one that you just really end up enjoying. And if there's free food, I'm there.
Yeah, food is always a big thing. I always talk about, like doing like stand-in work on sets and things like that. You could always tell who is new to it or who has been doing it for a while, because the new person, if you ask the new person what it was like, they'll be like, it was great. I saw Ice-T, he was standing over there, and I saw Adam Sandler, he was standing over there, and Bruce Willis was over there. And if you ask somebody who's been doing it for a while and you say, how was the shoot? They'll be like, the food was great. They had salmon at the dinner. They had an omelet table for breakfast. Like, it's all about the food.
All about crafty. That's the bottom line.
So you were doing that, and that sort of worked out in your favor. And then at some time, it evolved into you working for WABC, the local ABC Channel 7 in New York, right?
Yeah, basically what happened was that first job I had was at something called Magazine Productions Inc. It does not exist anymore. But what they did was they took Time Inc. magazines and they were making them into like TV segments on New York One. So there was an Entertainment Weekly report, Fortune Magazine report, Money Magazine report, blah, 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 blah. And George, a friend of his, was the news director at WABC. And there was an opening for a desk assistant. So desk assistant is the lowest of the low. You're the one that rips scripts. You run around getting B-roll for reporters. so forth and so on. I was able to get that job. And then that was my first foray at WABC. So I was there as a desk assistant for like, I think it was like 2 years. And then about 8 years later, I ended up coming back as a reporter, which for me was like beyond, like that was like a dream come true for me, because when you work as the lowest of the low at one place and you're admiring the reporters, and a lot of the reporters were young, and you're like trying to figure out how did they get to that point, because they're only a couple years older than me. They're not that much older than me. And then they would help you out, help you with your reel, help you with your on-air persona, how to speak, how to write, so forth and so on. And unbeknownst to me, after I had left, people were like keeping an eye on me, which I wasn't aware of. And then, yeah, out of the blue, the current news director at that time, when I was there as a desk assistant, he was a managing editor. And then he went up the ranks, became the news director, called me out of the blue and asked me what I was doing. And I was like, I'm in between jobs. The show that I was just hosting got canceled. And he's like, would you like to do lifestyle entertainment reporting here? And I was like, yeah, when can I start? I was like, today? I'm like, I'll go right now. And he's like, yeah, no, Monday. And I was like, I'll be there with bells on. And that's how that happened. That does not happen in news. I was very, very, very lucky, because that does not happen. But unfortunately, as quickly as I got it, is as quickly as it was taken away from me. So it didn't last very long, which sucked. But acting. So when I was at ABC as a reporter, I booked my first commercial and became SAG. And they didn't see that commercial, but I started booking a lot, and I wasn't under contract, so they didn't say I couldn't do commercials. And so I did the commercials. And then another reporter, sometimes other people aren't happy for you. And I can't say any who's who, but somebody saw it, saw one of my commercials, recorded it, and gave it to the news director like 2 or 3 years later. And I remember this individual asked me, they're like, hey, is that you in this New York Jets commercial? And I was like, no, it was. But I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. I was like, that's not me. I go, what's this commercial about? And she's explaining it to me. I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Must be my doppelganger, not me.
Why?
And then,
why is it bad for you to do that? Why did you have to lie about it?
because what they were considering was, it's Tinabeth Pina, reporter at WABC, representing us in this commercial, as if I'm taking a side and I'm doing a commercial for something, but I'm not. I'm Tinabeth Pina, the actor. I'm playing a role. It's not WABC that's being represented, but that's how they took it.
You mean they thought it was like unethical that a news person would be endorsing a product?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got you.
But I wasn't under contract. I was a freelancer. So you don't give me a contract, I've got to make a nest egg, because you're going to boot me anytime. And what had happened was, I got laid off from WABC 3 times. The third time was the charm. And the charm was the commercial. Every time they laid me off was like the fiscal year. At the end of the fiscal year, they'd lay me off and then they'd bring me back. And then the third time, it wasn't during the fiscal year. The third time was like in March. And they're like, well, if you can get that commercial to stop running, we'll bring you back. And I'm like, how could I get it? It's impossible. That's not going to happen. And then that was the end of that, unfortunately. So I was at WABC as a reporter for like 2.5, maybe 3 years. But it was great. Like, I loved it. Could I go back now? Probably. But do I want to? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's nice because it's ABC. You have that cachet of, it's ABC. Because where I work now, people don't watch that channel, unfortunately. So it's better like when you're working at a network channel, because people will watch and they're aware of it. And when you call them to do a story, they want to do the story because they're familiar with the channel. So, but I don't know.
And when you were working, doing reporting for WABC, you did like sort of lifestyle entertainment reporting?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So who'd you interview then?
I interviewed a lot of people. Gosh.
I could tell you something I saw once, and maybe it's from this time period, but I don't know. Mel Brooks and Gene Wilder?
That was for the Metro Channel. Wait, was that for the Metro Channel or was that for ABC? I'm trying to remember. It might have been ABC. It might not have been the Metro Channel. Yes, and that was like a major, major, major highlight because I love Mel Brooks.
Yeah.
History of the World Part 1, one of my favorite movies. Love Young Frankenstein. And that was I think at the time it was no, not a 20th anniversary, maybe a 30th anniversary of Young Frankenstein. Yeah. If it's 2000. Yeah, that's right. I don't remember. I don't remember if it was a Metro Channel or if it was ABC because they were almost at the same time. Anyhow, great experience. Mel Brooks kept like teasing me and zinging me because he's like, how old are you? He's like, why am I getting a 15-year-old reporter? Who is this little girl? Like, da, 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 da. And he kept going on and on and on. And I was just like amazing. That was amazing. Yeah. I would do anything to be able to meet him again and like actually like have a conversation with him. Like I would have loved to have done something with him, Carl Reiner, like, you know, the Titans. Who's the other one? I'm forgetting the guy who always has the hat on. The guy's almost 100.
The guy who always has a hat on.
Yes, that's like his style.
Frosty the Snowman.
No. He produced Norman Lear.
Oh, Norman Lear. Yeah, he does wear a hat. Right. Yeah.
He's the other one that I would absolutely love to meet. Because I remember I wrote to him when I was in college, when I was graduating, because I needed an interview for a thesis that I was writing. And they weren't able to do it, but like he got back to me. So I was like, ooh, nice. But I would love, like, that's somebody like I would love to meet. I don't know if that's ever going to happen because, like I said, the man's almost 100 years old. So a lot of people that I would have liked to have met, I didn't get to meet, but I'm very fortunate that I got to meet some people. Looking back, like I got a chance to meet Charlton Heston. I got a chance to meet, who was the lady that was married to Humphrey Bogart? Lauren Bacall. Like I got to meet and interview these people, and that I'm very, very happy, very lucky about. Lauren Bacall was one of my highlights at ABC. I got to interview her, and prior to interviewing her, I remember the publicist and stuff saying, it's like, you know, she's not kind to reporters. She doesn't like them. And I was like, oh, this is going to be great. She and I got along like this. I don't know why. I don't know why she liked me. I loved her and worked out. It was, it was a party that for Sidney Lumet, and that his daughter was throwing or something. And I had to be there. And I was really fortunate because I got to interview him and her. And I was just like, it's Lauren freaking Bacall. Like, and like I said, if I had an opportunity to interview like all those, in my opinion, true like Hollywood giants, not like the people from today, because maybe it's because we know too much about them. Like I don't care for, George Clooney, J-Lo, they're all talented and everything, but there's
no mystique around them because we know everything about them.
Yes, and not to take away from them, but it's like there's something about the people from like the I don't know, those years of Hollywood, of the studio system. Absolutely. That, like I said, I'm very, very fortunate that I got to meet a few, very few, but at least I did, because it's like 6 degrees of separation of like other people. So that was cool.
What was your interaction with Charlton Heston? Did he part the Red Sea? Did he tell you not to eat pork? Because Moses is a Jew, you can't eat pork. What did he tell you?
At the time, I was a desk assistant at WABC, and he was on Regis and Kathy Lee. I'm probably revealing how old I am, but it was at Regis and Kathy Lee, and I ran downstairs to the green room because I was like, I got to meet this guy. I'm like, I don't know how. I'm going to get in trouble, again, doing what I'm not supposed to do, but I was like, it's freaking Charlton Heston. So I don't know what I did, but I ran in there, not even with a camera. I wish I had like a camera with me, something, but I just went in there. I was like, oh my God, you're Charlton Heston, you're Moses. I was like, I love you. And then I think because I always looked a lot younger than what I was, he was endeared by it. He's like, oh, it's nice to meet you. What's your name? And I told him, and he's like, oh, and he's like, do you remember that movie? I was like, yeah, like my dad, I've watched these movies with my dad, and I've seen a lot of your stuff, and I'm a huge fan, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And he was like, oh, it's very nice to meet you. And then that was it. I don't remember anything else in the conversation, but it was just like, and like I said, I wish I had a camera but I didn't.
So yeah, I was going to ask you. You know, you brought up something. Being at the WABC studios, then you are around certain other things that are national, like the Regis show. Now, Regis is one of those guys. Unfortunately, he died last year. But I did a lot of those. They used to pay people to be in the audience for the Celebrity Password, and I did a lot of those. And in between, Regis joked around with us, and Regis always seems to be Regis every time. And
Regis was Regis.
I always loved him. I always thought he was like one of those guys who his main talent was likability. And did you have any interactions with the great Regis?
All the time. You see him in the elevator because we were on, I forget what floor we were on. I think we were on like the 4th floor and they were on the 7th floor. So you'd be with Regis in the elevator or you'd see him in the hallway. And he didn't know you by name, but he was always friendly. He was like a good guy. Whereas there'd be other people in the elevator that when you'd get, and I won't mention any names, but you'd get in with them and they would look up, look down, do anything to not make eye contact with you.
You're talking about Kathy Lee. We could.
No, I'm not actually.
You're not talking about Kathy Lee? Well, what other shows were shooting there?
Just Regis. It was just in that building. It was Regis and us, the news. I don't know how it is now, but at the time, that's what it was.
Isn't that, well, I guess that's the same place they do that show. I was going to say, is that where they do The View? But I don't know anything about The View, really.
No, The View used to be all the way down by like the West Side Highway. I can't remember anymore. And now they moved. They're like back like on 67th. Oh, and I just remembered another story that I did. It was, I really wanted to be on All My Children. And All My Children was on ABC. So I pitched, I was like, hey, let's do a story on what it's like to be like a background actor or under 5 actor on a soap. And they're like, okay. The only reason why I pitched the story was so I could be on set.
Right.
So I ended up getting a under 5 daytime role for All My Children for my story. That was incredible because I grew up watching All My Children. So Erica Kane, Susan Lucci, Palmer Cortland, all these people that I had seen growing up, you know, when you had off during school, because I remember ABC ran All My Children like at 1 o'clock. It was during the summertime, you definitely would watch it. And I was Tina, the casino hostess. And it was just so much fun because I only had like, I don't know, 4 or 5 lines. That was an incredible experience that we actually turned into a story. And the thing was that was really cool was that the actors didn't know at first it was for a story. They actually thought that I was an actor. And I was like, ooh, like, that's a compliment. They didn't know that this was really for a story. They think I belong here. Maybe I do. And what was cool too was at that time, that's when people started blogging. And I don't know who, because I thought somebody did this who knew me, but apparently it wasn't anybody who knew me, that I knew. They were like, ooh, who's Tina, the casino hostess? See how she looked at this other character? Is that going to be his new love interest? And I was like, who's writing this stuff? I was like, that would be so cool. But that didn't happen. But it was a nice experience. I forgot about that. When you just mentioned that, I remembered.
Now, when you were doing these reports for WABC, who were the anchors? Was it like Roz Abrams and people?
Yeah, Roz and Bill Ritter. Because when I was a desk assistant, it was Bill Butel and Diana Williams. And then when I started working there as a reporter, it was Roz, Bill Butel, Sam Champion did weather along with Lee Goldberg. And a lot of the other people are still the same people. A lot of people, WABC is the #1 station in the #1 market. So once you get there, there's no reason to leave. So you pretty much stay there. And then Roz, unfortunately, ended up retiring from there.
When they let you go because the Phantom went on and did a commercial, where did you go from there?
What did I do? That's when I started doing a lot of background work. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. That was, yeah.
When I was fired, that's when I met you.
No, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, no, because it was hard because I thought it was going to be easy to get a job at a different channel. I was like, all right, WABC doesn't want me. I go to WNBC, WCBS, PIX, Channel 9.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted me. And it was disheartening because I was like, why don't you want me? One channel told me that I was too ABC for them, too Channel 7. I was like, what do you mean? They're like, you're very blue collar. We're more of a white collar channel. They told me that.
Which channel is the white collar channel?
You can figure it out. I'm not going to say, but that's what they told me. And I was just kind of like, really? Really? That's what they said to me. And it wasn't true because I was like, they were just looking for an excuse to get me out of the building. So it was hard. I ended up, I got some like different jobs here and there. I remember I worked for the History Channel in Espanol. I did some producing there. That was fun, but it wasn't on air. And then at the same time, when I was at the History Channel, I did something called Fastlane Daily. It was like an automotive news website. So I was hosting that. That was fun. I enjoyed that because at least I was keeping like the on-air stuff. Then what happened after that? I did like an animal news website. So that called zoo2.com. I don't think that.
What was that? Was that one where you like hang around marmosets and monkeys and they crap all over your shoulders and stuff?
No, just whatever pet news. If there's like a new Purina dog chow that's healthier for your pet, that's what it was. Yeah, I did that. And then, like I said, and that's when I realized I was like, either A, I can go back to school and become a doctor now. Because that's when I was realizing I was like, oh, I could be a medical reporter. And the other part of me was I really liked HGTV. I was like, oh, I could do real estate. Because I was trying to think of different ways to get myself on camera. And then when I remembered years ago when I had first graduated from school, I did Carlito's Way for background. And I really enjoyed that experience. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll do that because I'm like, that's like a free way of learning what a film set is about, what a television set's about. And I know it's very different than what I actually know. So I'm like, I'll just do that. And then as I was doing it, I enjoyed it, but I just didn't like how more often than not, background was not always treated well. Like you're the lowest of the low. And I was like, that's not cool. And then I made my way to stand-in. So I did stand-in for a little while. Like,
there's a huge difference. They treat you a hell of a lot better when you're standing. They remember your name. It's totally different.
They do, but what I started realizing was I wasn't going to get anywhere as a stand-in either. Because I thought, okay, now you're a stand-in. You're reading with these actors sometimes.
Right.
And maybe somebody will see that I have talent. No. But that's what you think. That's what you hope because you hear all these old stories of people being discovered on the street. You want that to happen to you, but that doesn't happen anymore, I guess.
What are you eating?
Almonds.
Okay. I thought you were eating pineapples, but then that would make you a cannibal. So when did you work for Real 13 doing the movie stuff?
When did I do that? That was
the New York PBS channel.
That was 2008, 2009. So that was at the same time that I was doing background work. That's when I did that. I forgot. That was one of the things I did. Yep, that was another thing that somebody that I used to work with reached out to me, asked me if I was interested in hosting that, and I said, yeah. And then that was also short-lived because a man named Neil Shapiro, who's the CEO of WNET, ended up becoming the host of the show. So, of course, I got booted.
Well, he wanted the job himself. It's like when you meet a manager. You ever meet these managers who are also actors, and you're like, you're going to be a horrible manager because you want to get yourself on the television.
I didn't know that he was even interested in that. His wife is, I believe his wife is Juju Chang, who is a reporter at ABC. So I guess he does have an interest in that, and he's now hosting that. So yeah, I got booted for him. If I ever see him again in person, I'm going to mention that. Be like, hey, remember me? I got booted for you.
At what time did you wind up working for the Maury Povich show?
Around that time. I forgot about. Thank you for reminding me. So I got laid off. Yeah, it was when I was at WABC. Towards the tail end of that I got picked up by Maury, and that was like my agent worked that out, thankfully. And what it was at the time before the DNA.
So you weren't when Maury Povich would bring on the guys and say, "We're going to see if you're the father of the kid," and then they go, "The DNA test shows you're not the father of the kid. You could go home and kick the baby out on the street and tell him to take the bus." It's not. Was it that?
No, it was simultaneously at that time when that started becoming big. He used to do shows about crazy crimes caught on tape, and he'd have different reporters, different journalists come in and talk about it. So the producer would prep you ahead of time and say, you're going to be talking about these 4 instances. And they just wanted to see like how you do it. It was like a play-by-play. I remember I did one with a baby getting thrown out of a burning building. So it was like, Maury, watch as the baby is thrown out of the building into the arms of the bystander below. Look at how he catches the baby. Isn't that incredible? That's what you would do. And so you're just doing like a play-by-play with Maury there. And he's also a very, very nice person. I'm shocked that he's in his 80s and he's still doing the show. And then now the show has completely become, you know, who's the father. They no longer do anything else but that. But yeah, I had a good stretch. I did that for about 6 or 7 years.
When you would do the baby being thrown out of the building, was it that you had footage of the baby being thrown out of the building and you would narrate it?
Yep.
Oh.
It'd be like, this bear goes into the bus and is driving on the 495. Maury, watch as the bear swerves in and out of traffic. Isn't it amazing? And that's, you know, what you would do. And you just narrate it and that's it. And you got paid for it. And I didn't know that I would get residuals for that because it was an after show. So it was a very nice gig.
And did you ever see him with Connie Chung, making out with Connie Chung?
Never had the pleasure of seeing that.
Giving Connie Chung the tongue? No, nothing like that?
No,
because that would have been great if you were doing your reporting. Look, Maury, you're giving Connie Chung the tongue.
The tongue. Yes.
That would have been good. So
never had the chance.
How long did you work with Maury Povich?
That lasted about 6 years.
And
that lasted a long time.
The only reason you stopped doing it is because they stopped including that segment?
Yeah, that's it.
Did you offer to maybe be the illegitimate mother or father of a child in order to get back on the show?
I could stay back on?
Yeah.
No, I didn't consider that. That would have been a good idea. I could still try.
And then you would have been eligible for them child tax credits nowadays.
Yes, and residuals too, because like I said, every time that they rerun those shows, you get a residual.
Yeah, I knew a couple of people who did. He used to do sometimes reenactments also, and they would get money for that too. That would be like an after job. So you mostly then consider yourself somebody who works in some form of journalism on media.
Yeah, I guess
more than an actor, so to speak.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm mostly a multimedia journalist who also happens to act. Because I mean, I still book commercials. My bread and butter, acting-wise, has really been just commercials. So I booked that one commercial years ago that got me SAG. Didn't book anything for the longest time. And then for some strange unknown reason, for the past couple of years, I've been booking like at least one national commercial a year, which has been good. So that's been my bread and butter. But I really would like to, you know, have a recurring role on like a Law and Order, like something. I don't need to be the star. I don't need to be there all the time. You know, every once in a while I'll play a lawyer or I'll play an inmate or like a dead body on the street, something. Like I enjoy it. It's fun.
But you also do something else where you, I guess, I don't know if you did this on your own or if it became from a job at first, you do this traveling where you travel around and go different places, and that became another thing you did. And it's kind of a form of journalism because you're reporting on the places you go. What made you decide to do that? I
love to travel. And many, many years ago, I was working at a channel where we did all different types of reporting. It was called the Metro Channel. We were like Time Out New York, but on TV. Yeah. So we tell people where to go, what to do, da-da-da-da. Mm-hmm. And one of our reporters, he was this was before like food became a big thing. He was a food reporter. His name was Ed Levine. And Ed got invited to something called the Taste of Oahu in Hawaii. And he threw it out, and I saw it in the garbage. So I took it out of the garbage, I uncrinkled it, and I'm reading it. And I was like, Ed, you're not going to this? He's like, no. I was like, can I go? He's like, you want to? I was like, yeah. He goes, go ahead, call them. I was like, okay. So I call and I say, you sent this invite to Ed Levine, but he regretfully can't go. But I would like to go to his place. And they, asked me a couple of questions, and they're like, well, what would you gain out of, going? And I was like, it's not really about what I'm going to gain. It's what you're going to gain, because I will go with a camera crew and I'll shoot the bejesus out of it. And they're like, okay. So I asked my coworker, who was a friend of mine, I was like, hey, it was almost like the same thing I did with the MTV Awards. It was like, hey, you want to go to Hawaii for free to shoot the Taste of Oahu? And she's like, I used to live in Hawaii. She's like, yes. We went to Hawaii. She was the videographer. I was the host. We shot a lot of stuff that we ended up airing on the Metro Channel. And then what I realized doing that was, I was like, being a travel journalist would be really, really cool, because you stay in the best places, eat the best food, and you get to like report about it. And so I always kept that in the back of my head. And I was like, if the opportunity ever arose for me to do this, I would do it. The opportunity never arose. But what I realized through social media, I'm like, I could just do it myself. And that's what I started doing. So I started blogging, and I did Tinabeth Travels, and I have my travel minute. And then I spun that into a show called Globe Scholars, where I follow students on their study abroad trips. And so then I document it. And it's almost like a documentary of what these students are experiencing when they're in Cuba or South Korea. Those are the two trips I've done thus far. But what made me want to start doing that was that free trip to Oahu, because that trip was freaking awesome. In fact, that was only supposed to be like a 3-day trip. It ended up being a week, because the Hawaiian Tourism Board saw what we were doing and they really liked it, that they extended our invitation and had us there longer. So it was fantastic.
And then since then you decided on your own to do things, and you would put it up on your website when you would go out and travel different places. What's like the strangest place you've ever gone to? And also, have you ever been in such a far off place that the food is the weirdest type of food? Like, have you ever eaten mule anus with gravy or something like that?
I can't say I've had mule anus, but I can say that I've had.
Wait a minute. You can't say you've had mule anus with gravy?
No, I can't.
Then don't knock it. Then don't knock it if you haven't had it.
I'm not, but I have.
Are you against the idea of one day perhaps trying mule anus? I just want to know.
I pretty much try anything.
So you would, in fact,
if it's a delicacy that people swear by, that you must try, and that they claim is delicious, I will have a bite.
Of?
Could be mule anus, could be whatever.
I just wanted to get you to say mule anus.
I know you wanted to say.
What was the weird stuff you'd ate?
The weirdest thing I've ever eaten was guinea pig. We had that in Peru. That is a specialty of Peru. And
it's like eating a rat.
They say it's really good, but where we had it, I've never had anything like it before. I never want to have anything like that again. It was gelatinous. Meat is not supposed to be gelatinous, okay? And the other thing was the way I have pictures too. I just don't have them on me. I specifically asked, I was like, it doesn't look like a guinea pig in the plate, right? I'm like, it looks just like meat. And they're like, no. It looked like a guinea pig. You saw the face and everything, the legs, the face, you saw the whole thing.
And they put next to it, like you drank out of their little suction bottle. Did it come with a wheel that they spin around in or anything?
No, it was just served to you on a plate, grilled. But it was apparently the one that I ate wasn't good, because people that I know who have had it swear by it. And I was just kind of like, it wasn't very good. The one thing that was kind of tasty over there that I did have was
mule anus.
Llama. No, llama. Llama meat.
Yeah?
That was good. That wasn't bad. I've had that. I've had horse. Horse is good.
But horse is common. Like a lot of people eat horse. But llama, what does llama taste like? Like horse?
Kind of. A little gamey. It was good.
What did
but like I said, it was at the same restaurant.
What did the closest thing you could compare guinea pig to?
I've never had anything like that,
Yeah.
ever. It was disgusting. It was, like I said, it was gelatinous, but I think a couple of people have told me, they're like, the one that you had then wasn't very good. They're like, it's not supposed to be gelatinous. They're like, it's delicious. And I was just like, all right. I'm like, if I ever go back to Peru and you're there, I'll go with you and try it.
When you were eating this guinea pig and you realized you didn't like it, did you feel like obligated to eat it? Like
I asked my husband if you want to try it. He's like, yeah, he tried a little bit of it. We were both grossed out by it. No, we didn't finish it.
Yeah. Wow.
You know.
And what is like the weirdest type of custom that might happen in a far off place that is the most foreign to maybe an American? That a ritual, a holiday, a festival, an act, a normal social act of doing things?
I mean, I know there's one in India. We weren't there when they were having it, but it's like what is it, Holi festival, where people like throw ink at each other. It's like a festival of lights. I wasn't there for that. But
you were busy eating guinea pigs in Peru.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you ate the guinea pig, you were probably eating it going, gee, I wish this was Mule Anus. At least Mule Anus is not gelatinous.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. So how many places have you been to so far?
We've been to probably over 50 countries. I pretty much, before the day I die, I want to like go everywhere. And then there's places that I want to go back to, that I want to explore more. And then there are places that I don't care to go back to, because I was like, you know what, been there, done that, don't need to go back again.
What was the toughest place to go to in terms of living conditions or anything like
that? I found that Delhi in India it's either you have money or you don't. That's what I was noticing. And then if you don't, a lot of people just live on the street. That's what I saw. It's not indicative of all of India, but I just remember seeing that in Delhi. I saw a lot of poverty, but poverty that I've never seen before. Like I saw people taking a shower in the street, like they have their bucket, their soap, taking a shower in the street. I saw leprosy hospitals there. I thought leprosy was only in the Bible. I didn't know that still existed. So for me, that was very eye-opening and something very just different and kind of hard to see in a way.
Conversely, then, what was your favorite place you had the most fun at?
It's not necessarily that I had the most fun, but I love the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. And I think I always fancied myself like a female Indiana Jones. So I always like going on adventures. So the opportunity to go to Petra, where actually they filmed part of Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's in Jordan. And it's called the Red Rock City. And there's scenes in Raiders that they shot there. And when you walk through it, you recognize it. And you're like, oh my God, this is from Raiders of the Lost Ark. So that was cool. And on that same trip, we did Israel, we did Jordan, and we did Egypt. And to be able to see like the pyramids in person, that is an experience. I would go to Egypt again and again and again and again, just to be able to go inside the pyramids, be outside the pyramids, just stare at the pyramids, because this is like one of the last 7 wonders of the world, ancient wonders of the world, that's still standing, that you can't begin to fathom how it was created.
What's inside the pyramids? Like slush puppet machines, things like that? What's inside there?
Not a single solitary thing. Dust and Mule Anus.
And Mule Anus. Okay, wow. I'm glad that you keep saying that, because that's going to be the preview video that I put up of this. It's going to be just like you, Mule Anus, and that's it. Mule Anus and Maury. But when you were traveling to these places in the Middle East, did you encounter any type of tension between Israel and the other people?
The only tension was that I had my shoulders showing. That'd be the tension, because women are supposed to be covered up. And if you're a tourist, you should try to respect the customs of the country that you're in. So in the beginning, I didn't realize I couldn't wear like a tank top like I have on now.
You have to cover your hair?
I didn't have to cover my hair, but I was supposed to cover my shoulders, and I didn't realize it. It's freaking hot. We were there in June. Like, I wanted to have shorts on and a tank top. And out of respect, you're not supposed to. So that was the one thing that was a little weird. And I noticed it because people would be staring at me, and I was like, do they think I'm a celebrity? Like, oh, what is it? And it was because my shoulders were out.
No, they weren't like, that's the lady who eats guinea pig and mule anus.
No. You know what, though? In India, I got mistaken for Rosario Dawson because people came up to me asking for autographs. So I wasn't sure if it was that was happening again. So, because when that happens, I just go with it. Like, I've been led into parties because of that. And I'm like, yeah, her, sure, I'll go in. We don't look anything alike. We might look like we're related, like cousins, but like that's the extent of it. But some people, they think I'm her. So like I go with it.
Do you ever get to interview her?
I met her once at a party, and then because
I was like, stop imitating me.
No, and I told her, I was like, you need to behave because people are gonna think I'm you doing stuff. And then so we started playing with that, and that was the only time I had ever met her. She seemed very nice.
Yeah, and now you're doing the show you're doing now. What is it called now? Latinas
on CUNY TV. I do both Latinas and Globe Scholars simultaneously.
And they're both on the same channel?
No, Latinas is on CUNY TV. It's a CUNY TV production because I work for them.
Okay.
And then Globe Scholars is something that I do on my own that I've been able to get on PBS stations nationwide.
And tell us about the Latinas show. Okay.
Latinas was just something. I have this thing, like if I always want to do something, I will do it some way, somehow, something. And when I was in college, I wrote one of my theses. My one thesis was on the misrepresentation and underrepresentation of Latinos on mainstream television. So I always wanted to have some type of show showing Hispanics in all walks of life. And so the opportunity came up at CUNY TV, and I ran with it. They let me do my own show. I conceived it. I'm the executive producer. I'm the host of it. And what we do is we showcase Latinas from all walks of life and what's of interest to them or what's troubling them. So we have segments like a Caliente Caliente, like it's a hot topic segment. We have the badass.
I understand Latina. That. I speak Spanish.
Yes. And then you have the Latina on the rise, like just the different stuff. So it's a fun show to do. I have a very small team. It's only like 3 of us. So we have to really work our tails off to get the show done. But we've been enjoying it. So it's been good. I won a Telly Award, which was nice. It didn't get nominated for an Emmy, so I was bummed for that because I really wanted it to. But there's always next year. So we'll try with that. Speaking of Emmys, on our little break, I went downstairs and I got it.
Oh, there it is. Look at that. That looks just like the one I was going to buy on eBay that once belonged to the writers of Frasier for the episode Frasier Yells at Niles. What does it say on the plaque?
1997-98 New York Emmy Awards, Outstanding Entertainment Program Special or Series, Viva, Tinabeth Pina, segment producer, WPIX TV.
There you go.
I don't know if you can see it.
I can't read the words, but yeah, I could see it. I could definitely see it. So, explain to me how you have to pay to get an Emmy. You said.
So, I don't know how this works with the national Emmys, but with the local Emmys, if you want to submit a segment of yours or a show of yours or whatnot, you have to pay to submit it. So if I want to submit Latinas, just say, it's like, I forget how much it is. I think it's $125 to submit it. And that's, you're just submitting it. You may not get nominated.
Right. So you don't get your money back.
No.
Right.
So hopefully you get nominated. And then if you do get nominated and you win, I'm not sure. I haven't won one in a long time, so I don't know. I don't know if you win, if you have to pay for the statuette or if you get it for free. If your 125 goes towards that, I'm not sure. So it's kind of weird because it's like you pay to play or you pay to like get recognized. Sometimes people don't realize that.
Did you pay for that one? I mean, not to be nominated, but no, you didn't pay for that one. If that's considered a local Emmy?
Yes, it's a New York Emmy. Mm-hmm.
So that's
like
people don't realize that the Emmy Awards, they give Emmys for local productions and things like that. Like I believe when Jim Henson was starting out, he had a local Washington, D.C. show, and his local show won an Emmy. Before he was ever a national person. Like people think that the only people that win the Emmys are Frasier and the writers of Frasier and the cast of Frasier. And when you see the show on TV in September, it's the winner's always Frasier. Even though the show has been canceled, they still give it to Frasier. But they also give it to a lot of local shows, a lot of local categories. What is the category?
This category is outstanding entertainment programming.
Outstanding entertainment programming. What were you hoping to be nominated for Latinas? What category?
Best magazine show.
Magazine.
Outstanding magazine show.
Yeah. I don't like that category. Do you like that name, magazine?
No, but I'm so used to it from hearing it for so many years. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me think of a magazine, a piece of paper. You know, it doesn't make me think of a TV show. But that's what it used to be. Like years ago when people used to buy the TV Guide, if you read like when Entertainment Tonight was coming up, it would be categorized as a magazine show. It would say magazine. And I remember when I was a kid, I would tell my mother, "This is not a magazine. This is a TV Guide. Why does it say magazine?" You know, it was very confusing. Incidentally, are you an Islander fan and not a Ranger fan?
My husband's an Islanders fan, so therefore I am an Islanders fan.
You should be a Rangers fan. Nobody's.
I cannot. If anything, oh no, there's a lot of people that are Islanders fans. I should be.
I know, but they're not smart.
What?
Rangers is what you. If you're a New Yorker, you really Long Island is the Islanders. That's why they're called Islanders. But everyone from New York City likes the Rangers.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Those are fighting words. I don't know about that.
I don't know if they're fighting words. Listen, I never went into sports. I was the type of person in high school that was in the school plays, so I wasn't really into any of those things. But I remember my brother and everything are into the Rangers, and the Islanders were always like, although the Islanders have won actually many more times than the Rangers. But then again, my family are Met fans too, so. You know, so what are you going to do?
There you go.
What are you going to do? So you're still doing Latinas. Anything else on the horizon? Any new projects coming up that you'd like to play?
No, I just got to figure out what I'm going to do for my next trip for Globe Scholars. I got to find a school and a program that I'm going to accompany. The last one that I went on is going to be premiering this year. So I went to South Korea with students from Brooklyn College and their like videography program. So,
That's where I went to school, Brooklyn College.
Oh, Brooklyn College. Yeah, so I went with them to South Korea, and it's a great program. They're there for like 3 weeks, and we documented them. And their assignment was to create a video comparing something in the U.S. to something in Korea, and they all did a fantastic job. So we did a 3-part series on that, and that'll, like I said, will air on local PBS stations this year. It'll premiere, and then like I said, I just got to figure out where I'm headed to next because of the pandemic. Obviously, I haven't gone anywhere. A lot of the study abroad programs have become virtual, but I think by next year they'll kick back up again, and then I have to figure out, you know, again, what school I'm going to go with and where we're going to go. I was supposed to go to Paris with the New York City College of Technology, and they have a culinary program, but that all disappeared because of the pandemic. And I'm hoping that they're planning to do that trip again because I have everything ready for it, like all the research and stuff. So hopefully that works out.
Have you ever been to Paris?
Mm-hmm. I have.
Yeah, I've never been to Paris, but I heard that in Paris, French bread is called just bread.
Probably.
Yeah, right. Just like in China, Chinese food is called food. So what was I going to say to you? 3 questions. First, was there ever an interview that you did with a prominent person that maybe in a fun way, in retrospect, went totally awry?
I remember I was interviewing Johnny Depp for Sleepy Hollow, and he kept playing peekaboo with me.
What do you mean? He kept covering his face with his hands?
Yeah, it was weird, and I didn't know why it was.
Say peekaboo?
No, he was just doing it, and it was just weird, and I don't know why. I don't know if he was bored. The interview, it ended up going well, but I didn't know where he was going with it. So that was a little strange. I remember that with him. And I remember interviewing Vin Diesel when he first started for Pitch Black. And that was very sweet because he wasn't comfortable. He wasn't like just comfortable with interviews yet. So he didn't really know what to say. So that was interesting to see because I see him now in interviews and he's got no problem chit-chatting. So that was interesting. So stuff like that is interesting. I can't think of something that completely went awry. I remember a long time ago being on the red carpet and a fight broke out and I almost got hit, but somebody dropped their tickets to the after party. And because I almost got hit, I swiped them off the floor and put them in my purse. And I went to the after party. So whoever's tickets those were, thank you very much because I had a good time at the party. And it was for the movie.
It wasn't a famous person who dropped the tickets?
I don't know who dropped the tickets, but it was for Brad Pitt's Seven, the movie Seven. I got to go to the party.
Oh, okay.
So, and I remember calling my friend because she had a crush on Brad Pitt. I was like, hey, you want to go to a party with Brad Pitt? She's like, yeah, when, where? I'm like, in an hour, let's go. And we went. I've had a lot of great experience. I've been very fortunate, but I almost got punched in the face. So because I ducked, like I said, so I don't know whose tickets those were. Doesn't matter now because like I got them and I got to go.
This makes me think of a different question I didn't think of before, and I don't know if you're going to think this is a strange question, but I've often told people when you meet famous people, like somebody said, like when I saw Eddie Murphy speak at a thing like 2 years ago, and I was like 20 feet away from him. And I said something to somebody who wasn't in show business, and it made sense to me. Maybe this would make sense to you. I said, Eddie Murphy looks exactly like himself. And I was saying that because a lot of times people that you see on camera don't look like themselves when you run into them. Like I remember when I first ran into, this is before I was even an actor, when I was working in a bookstore, not too far away from where you used to work, but this was years before that, near Lincoln Center, the Barnes & Noble that used to be on Lincoln Center, and Drew Barrymore came in. Well, she didn't look like Drew Barrymore. Like you had to like look at her a couple of times to realize it was her. You know what I mean? Some people look exactly like they look on camera, like Eddie Murphy does. Was there anybody like that you ever said, you don't look like you?
I would never say it to them.
No, but that you think of in retrospect.
You know who didn't look like her, but I don't know if anybody knows who she is anymore? Elizabeth Hasselbeck. Remember she used to host The View?
From The View, yeah.
You wouldn't recognize, same thing. Like you'd have to look at her a lot and be like, oh, that's Elizabeth Hasselbeck. She's really tiny. Like I didn't realize it was her. That's the only person I can think of.
That's the same thing with Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore's really tiny. And so like at first you think that's like a girl and not a woman. And you're like, that's just some girl looking at the fiction books over there. And you're like, that's Drew Barrymore. Because then we all kind of bothered her and then she had to leave. So, but yeah, there are a lot of people who don't, and a lot of times they have bigger heads than you think they have, or something like that, you know?
Yeah,
I don't mean ego. I mean physically they have bigger heads.
Yeah, no, they're like disproportionate. They're not either as attractive or not like how you think they'd be, which is weird. But yeah, no, I've noticed that. I've noticed that with a lot of people. It's amazing like how the camera and airbrushing can do wonders for lots of people.
Or sometimes it's not even, it's just the way the camera picks you up. You look totally different. I mean, I look like a regular sized person on the camera, you know what I mean? But you know, I'm actually going to get a tattoo all over my body of myself, only taller, so I can, you know, finally make it big. But so my next question for you would be, where is the place you always wanted to go that you haven't gone to yet, travel-wise, that you always wanted to go to and you're still hoping you could go to?
I've been lucky. I've been hitting all the places that I want. I mean, right now I have a trip scheduled to Kenya for a safari. So I'm hoping that works out. I don't know if it will, because for now you got to like get insurance because of now the Delta variant. So that's a place I wanted to go on safari. So hopefully that'll work out. And that's where I'm headed to next. And then I really like to go to Patagonia, like where Antarctica is at the end of South America, because that's supposed to be beautiful, something neat to see. I always like going off the beaten path, and I like to see as much as possible. It's funny because my husband lots of times tells me, he's like, why can't you just pick like the Caribbean like everybody else? He's like, you pick places that I've never heard of, or he's like that I have no desire to go to. But then at the end of it, I'm like, but did you enjoy yourself? And he's like, yeah. He goes, actually, I did. It's like, I had a really good time. So we'll see. Or like the Maldives, like that would be cool too. Like some islands like off the coast of, wherever. So things like that.
Can I suggest a place? Have you ever been to this place? It's far, but I hear very good things about it. It's called Passaic, New Jersey.
Yes, I've been to Passaic.
You've been to Passaic? Have you swam with the Passaians?
No, I have not. That I have not.
All right. And I guess my final question for you, and I think it's probably the most important one that we all want to know, is if you had to, what would be the best way you would cook and prepare mule anus to serve to your family and friends for the holiday season, as most people do traditionally?
I think grilled, not fried, because grilling gives a different taste to it. Frying is not healthy, and you don't want to bake it. So I think out on the grill would be good. And if it's for the holidays, maybe with a little rosemary, especially for the Italians out there, have that little rosemary flavor.
So you're saying that the best way to grill what?
The best way to grill mule anus is on the grill.
Well, there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. I think we've said it all. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for being part of this conversation. I think we learned a lot. Now, plug your stuff. Tell me where we can see all your stuff.
You can see Latinas on QD TV, and you can also see it on a couple of PBS stations. Some PBS stations are picking it up. You can see Globe Scholars also on PBS stations nationwide. Just check your local listings and keep your eyes peeled for different commercials and stuff. You never know where I'll be. I'm kind of like a Where's Waldo. See me like in the background in different places, sometimes in the foreground, but it's few and far between.
And your travel site.
And tinabethtravels.com. Yeah, I have my travel minutes, but I haven't done too much there, only because of the pandemic. So I have a couple of videos I should upload, but it's kind of like, if you can't go there, I'm like, what am I, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm giving people tips for a place that they can't go. Right. So that's the only bad part. But yeah, hopefully all that stuff comes to fruition. But yeah, like all my social media is the same, at Tinabeth Pina on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on all that stuff. So,
Still making it happen. Ladies and gentlemen, grill up a nice piece of mule anus and enjoy this interview. I hope you did. And ladies and gentlemen, I am the Great Goonan. This has been the Great Goonan Podcast, and I've been talking to the phantom, Tinabeth Pina. I'll see you next time, everyone. Peace.
Sick in the head.